Hello and welcome to the Stronger Than My Excuses panel discussion. This is another episode in our series in the future of business, Life on Mars. Our topic of conversation in today's panel is industry and government support, a whole new world for business. I'm again your host, Brendan Rogers, the founder of the Culture of Things Leadership and Team Performance Consultancy, podcast and YouTube channel. I need to thank our fantastic host, the Red Tree Theatre, supported by the Elderslie Foundation here at Tuggerah. It's a beautiful venue. Thank you very much for your support. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the land of our First Nations people, the Darkinjung people. We appreciate this and respect them and their elders past, present and emerging. With that all said, I would now like to introduce our fantastic panellists. To my immediate left here, we've got Paula Martin, who's the Regional Director of Business New South Wales Central Coast. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you.
We have Claire Braund, who I've known of for a while, but actually the first time to actually meet face to face. So Claire is the Founder and Executive Director, Women on Boards, President Central Coast Conservatorium and Director of Coast Shelter. Welcome, Claire. And Andrew, I've had the pleasure of meeting backstage and learn a bit about his history. He's the Business Economic Development Manager for Central Coast Council. So, welcome to the show, everybody. This show is all about taking action, no excuses. And we will always finish these Stronger Than My Excuses shows with a wrap-up of actions that people can take away and put into their business. We are on YouTube, so again, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like the videos, and you will be alerted to more content that comes on the Stronger Than My Excuses channel. Let's get into the conversation. Paula, we're going to start with you. You work in your role as Regional Director of Business New South Wales, working with all sorts of businesses, large and small. How can businesses be more successful with the right type of support, and even what are businesses asking for as far as support goes?
It's a really good question, and I think we need to recognise the difference between what businesses needed as support infrastructure prior to the pandemic and what they need now. So if you think about what businesses needed before the pandemic, we need to recognise that we were operating in an environment of global growth, of stability, and so when business owners are looking at different ways to grow their business, and even the way they learned in mainstream education, it was all about techniques and tactics and support to scale, to grow, to expand, to export. What the pandemic has exposed is the vulnerability of this type of thinking, where we are now facing a volatile environment. We've got aggressive geopolitical tensions. In fact, we've got a war happening right now. We've had 2 years of natural disasters, and we've lived through a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. This has challenged every facet of a business operations. And so what we're seeing in terms of support is that businesses are now having to rethink how they operate their business model through the lens of what we call resilience. If you think about how you plan for your business success, resilience means that you need to look at different ways of adjusting the way you deal with your customers, adjusting how you manage a changing workforce, adjusting your customer service models, adjusting your supply chains. We've seen critical infrastructure, both in this region and across our nation, really challenged with disruptions to supply chain, disruptions to our health system. We've seen the use of technology, which was once the domain of large organisations who had the capacity and the resources to implement. We've seen technology rise as a priority to be able to help these businesses to be resilient. So resilience is kind of described as a way for a business to be able to cope with change and thrive in uncertain circumstances. So businesses now are seeking support in a way that allows them to first of all to prevent, to prepare, and then to respond to change. It's what we're calling the new business as usual.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that word resilience, it's a very powerful and something we all very much need and have needed. Thank you, Paula. Claire, just your focus is on women. So if we think about the disproportionate impact on women in the workforce and business, what are some of the issues that they've faced specifically?
It's really interesting, and I really enjoyed Paula's summary, because what it shows is the space that we were in and the strategies that people were thinking about and the 3-year strategic plan. Who has a 3-year strategic plan now? Whose plan included a global pandemic? And we went out to our organisation and we found one person who said, yep, we had planned for that. Mind you, they'd spent a lifetime working in a quarantine, so you might think that. But it's really interesting that all those strategies have now gone out the window. People are working on rolling 1-year strategies that need to be pivoted, flipped, agile. Just when we think we're coming through COVID, you've got all the issues in relation to huge hikes in oil prices through the geopolitical scenario. Who knows what's going to happen with Taiwan? Supply chains are massively disrupted. Where we've seen a big impact on women is women, particularly in the self-employed space, quite often work in what I call the hands-on industries, so hospitality, retail, education, those types of things. And they were disproportionately impacted through COVID. 25% of women, a global study found, thought about leaving the workforce during COVID. And much of that, some of them were able to because they were financially secure, but many of them weren't. It just got too hard. So when it gets too hard, what can you do? And I think when you've got shrinking hours, you've got shrinking access to markets, you've got shrinking opportunities, to me you actually need to then think really strategically post-COVID about you always collaborate, you don't compete. That is the golden rule, in my view, of small businesses and women working to support other female-led businesses. You collaborate, you do not compete. And that is something that Women on Boards has used to great impact. We partner wherever we can. The other thing is you think you're in it by yourself, and you aren't. Julie's a great case study in how she took something from being very small and she has collaborated, she's been collegiate, she's not competed, she's actually built the space out. She's built the space out for everybody. And that's a really critical lesson in enabling other organisations to work with you. So I think the COVID-19 wasn't great for women. Remember all that at-home schooling? Yeah. We all remember that. But I think what we have to do is I think we have to think past that. We have to think that we're going to be constantly in an environment which is disrupted, and we're going to have to work out how we collaborate to move forward, because I don't think we can necessarily rely on government to support us all the time through it either.
Absolutely. Very well said. Another great word, collaboration. Very powerful stuff. Andrew, let's go to you. So in your role as Central Coast Council, what are you seeing that happens to businesses if they're not prepared for something that they're not even aware of that's going to happen in the future?
Yeah, Brendan, I think the most obvious thing is businesses don't know what's available, what support, what resources, what business coaching, what templates are available to actually support their business. New South Wales Business Chamber Business New South Wales is a classic example. We've got a host of business associations, business chambers around the coast, and you know what they are? They're the neighbouring business people that get together and say, hey, what are our challenges? Maybe we can do better if we manage them as a group in a consolidated fashion as opposed to an individual fashion. You go to biz.gov.au, there's 1 million templates and resources there for local businesses. You go to your local business enterprise centre, the Small Biz Connect program, business coaching that costs almost next to nothing. First 2 sessions are free, so you can actually get someone to help, and this is a key word I use, to govern your business. That helicopter view, that working on the business, not in the business. Talk to someone else. Quite often businesses' governance structure is the mum, the dad and the accountant, but only occasionally because that costs too much money on an hourly basis. Or your mates at the pub or the soccer ground on a Saturday. So have a look what's available. And since the pandemic has kicked off, there's been so much support for local businesses. You just got to spend some time booking meetings with your business to say what support is out there. Join your chamber, join your association, talk to your economic development practitioner at your local council who knows everyone around the park. So really focus on working with the people around you and the resources to drive your business going forward.
Yeah, well said, Andrew. I have to say, we're actually international. We've got a Kiwi on stage today. We had a Palestinian on stage earlier with Retta. So this is an international panel that we have. Fantastic.
And you know why Kiwis come over? To help increase the intellectual capacity of the Indigenous population.
Be very careful.
I'm glad I'm sitting on this couch, too.
Oh, yeah.
The ability to edit and cut is a powerful thing. Claire, what does a post-COVID situation look like for women moving forward?
Interesting question. Is there a post-COVID? I think it's an in-COVID. And I think that the New South Wales government has shown that they're really moving through the in-COVID scenario. I think what's been really positive about that is that from my point of view, the death rate has been very low, because let's think about this disease kills people, and that's an important thing for us to be thinking about. I think what we have to do is when it's post-COVID, pandemics will always now be in people's forward-thinking strategic plan. Disruption will always be there. Living with disruption is really critical. And one of the big things that I've noticed through my business and a lot of the women that I work with is the mental health impacts on staff. Working from home has been great for people, but it is not all it is cracked up to be. People are human beings, they're not human doings. They thrive in a relationship with each other. And when you do that, you want to see people, you want to be part of your customer journey, you want to be part of your client journey. You thrive on being with people. And so one of the things that people have to be very wary about is that innate retraction that's happened for a whole lot of people with the reduced hours, with the underemployment, with the sort of slight depression that goes with the fact that we've been living like this, and we've got a global war, and the place is underwater, and all these things happen. So the mental resilience that is required to move through those things is really critical. And that's one of the things we're going to have to start building through the workforce. And I do notice, and I think that all of those resources that you mentioned, so many people have no idea that they are accessible, and so use them, reach out. And the reason that people should be reaching out is because somebody else has an experience just like them. So be very aware of the mental health of you as a business owner, and be very aware of the mental health of your staff, particularly your younger staff, because for many of them, this has been situation normal. They don't know anything else. And so I think that's really a really strong message that I'm trying to pick up personally as a business owner, and to talk about, to open up the conversations around those things.
Absolutely. Andrew, from a council perspective, what sort of support systems are out there and in place to help businesses moving forward?
Yeah, the good thing about council is we've got a whole lot of specialists in the organisation, and the council model's a really, really good one. The council is a whole lot of neighbours that vote for each other, and they come together to form a council to look after the local neighbourhood, the Central Coast. So we have experts in place in a whole lot of areas. I'm an economic development practitioner, and economic development is trying to put more dollars in the economy by supporting local businesses. So more often than not, we're helping facilitate businesses in a whole lot of areas. I quite often refer to myself as the information desk at a Westfield shopping mall, knowing who's who in the zoo and the local environment. Go and talk to the chamber, go and to Paula's team about some opportunities here. Go and talk to the Business Enterprise Centre for the Hunter and the Central Coast, because they've got a digital solutions program in place that can help you, for the sake of a few dollars, set up a digital and transformational social media strategy for your business, or just take up the business coaching along the way. Or have you seen the Entrepreneurs Program? Or have you talked to these people here about your startup options along the way? So for me, it's about making sure, again, it goes back to that collegiate collaboration and hanging with people. I quite often say, my role is very similar to one of the oldest professions, prostitution, because I need to be intimate with everyone. And the more I do that, the more I'm at the front of the information queue and be able to help provide assistance to local businesses because they can work in the business of being business and making more dollars and have a good standard of living. So really think about who you need to be intimate with at your local council, with your local chamber, with your local consultants, with any local providers that do a good deal because you're a local business as well. So always think about how you can manage those synchronised relationships in an intimate way so all of you together can grow your business.
Thank you, Andrew. Love the analogy, by the way. Only a Kiwi would come up with something like that. Paula, you're in your role, very much business as well as conduit between businesses on the ground and government and conversations there. So what sort of support is in place for industry and government levels?
Look, there's a lot of support in just supporting what Andrew was saying, but we do need to recognise that the pandemic has impacted every single sector across Australia, including the public service, and including the way we run our economy, and including the way that we run our governments. And so we are in an extremely fortunate position where we have not one but three layers of government that are around to who are listening and who are providing different types of support to help the powerhouse of our economy get up and running and through this pandemic. And that includes small, medium and large businesses. And we've talked about the impact at a small, medium and large level. But I would encourage businesses. So first of all, I think that's a really fortunate position for us to be in. So it's a matter of finding and navigating your way through the plethora of support that is available out there. And really what businesses are telling us, they want three things. They want access to information, access to support, and access to advice. So if you're considering that you might need support, think about what it is that you're trying to strive towards. Are you looking at investing in the growth of your business? Are you looking at expanding your workforce? Are you facing labour or skills shortages? Are you looking at new international markets or new national markets? So, and there are support pots all over the place for that. So I just want to draw attention to some of the things that I think might be helpful to the audience today. And if you're looking at infrastructure growth at a state level, we've got a number of different large programs that the state government is offering around regional creation funds. So if you're looking at investing and growing your infrastructure and it is going to create jobs, talk to your regional New South Wales government office. If you look at a federal level and you're in the manufacturing sector or related manufacturing sector, there's numerous funding available under the Modern Manufacturing Initiative, and those rounds come up at different times of the year. Again, they're aimed at helping you to really grow in a large way and to do with your infrastructure. If you are into commercialising, if you're looking at new products and services, if you're looking at R&D, there's numerous federal level commercialisation support programs in place that you can tap into. If you're in the arts and events industry, there's funding available to support your conferences, to support get-togethers with key customer groups, especially if there are overnight stays attached. If you're in the tourism and the hospitality, the accommodation industry, the state government has extended its voucher program. So there's a new Stay New South Wales voucher available. There's the extension of the Dine and Discover vouchers available. That will encourage customers through your doors and frequenting your business, and then it's up to you to create that safe, enduring, memorable experience for your customers. At an operational level, Andrew has already talked about some of the programs in place. If you're a small business, there's Business Connect. If you're a medium business, there's the Entrepreneurs Program. Go to business.gov.au, it's all listed there. To help with skills, which is the number one problem facing our region at the moment, access to skills, access to labour. We have careers facilitators, REAP officers, employment facilitators. We have got a number of different programs in place where government, business, industry and the departments themselves are working together to develop customised programs for businesses to ensure that businesses can gain the right type of skill sets that might be missing for the new jobs that they're creating or have vacant at the moment, and encourage those young people to consider careers here locally in industries where we might have skills shortages. And of course the escalation services when there are disasters. So we've got Service New South Wales, we've got all of your local business chambers, Business New South Wales. The Central Coast Economy.com.au website has got a free grant service, grant finder service available to all businesses in our region if you want to search for different types of funding mechanisms. So it's all out there. And if you forget everything that I've said today, just ring your local chamber and they'll get you started, or ring Business New South Wales.
Well said, well said.
Thank you very much, Paula. So, Andrew, I'm going to throw back to you. Paula has mentioned a number of things that can lead people to seek help. From your perspective, though, again, with that council lens, where should businesses go to seek the help that they need, to get the information they need, and then to be able to action?
I go to the local business enterprise centre. Again, I've got a conflict of interest because I used to be a business coach out of the Newcastle Business Centre in the time gone past. But there's some really good, really smart and really small business aligned people in the Hunter Central Coast Business Enterprise Centre that want to work with you. And they work with small businesses day in, day out, 52 weeks of the year, 365 days. So guess what? The challenges for businesses in the year 2022 are happening all over the place, and these business coaches have a whole lot of experience, knowledge, business acumen, and resources available to help along the way. The business plan canvas is a classic example. Small business coaches work on. It's a one-pager, and you should be updating it every 3 months in terms of where your business is going. You know where you're going to go down the way, the type of service or product you deliver, but you should always be change ready in terms of your business plan. So you need to book meetings with yourself and sit down with someone who's outside of your local environment to say, how's my business going? What should I be asking myself about as I go forward so I can make sure my business is sustainable and future-proof? So go to your local business enterprise centre, use a BizConnect small biz coaching program. I really, really endorse it.
Absolutely. Thank you, mate. And it's very, very cost-effective support, absolutely.
Can I say that there's 3 things you can also do in addition to those things? What's your purpose? Is the purpose of your organisation and your business what it was pre-COVID? You've always got to think about purpose. Why am I here? What am I doing? And how am I doing it? So look at purpose all of the time. That's the first thing that I do. The second is cash flow is king. Cash flow is always king in a small business, and you've got to keep your eye on it. And the third thing is ask for help. You've got to look around and ask for help. You've got options here to ask for help, and there's some great options there. But who are your neighbours? Who are your friends? Who's your partner? Who are the people that can help you, who will both mentally support you, emotionally support you, physically support you, give you access to networks? Because most people, when you ask them for help, will say yes. And women particularly will quite often say, oh, I wouldn't ask for help. And I say to them, what happens if someone asks you to help? Do you say, oh, no, I'm just going to kind of walk away? No, they don't. They don't. So ask for help. Cash flow is king. And always, always think about your purpose, because purpose is critical both in life but in business as well.
Some of the things that we've learned across the last 2 years, which are really important for businesses to consider, just building on what Claire was mentioning before around purpose. One of the things that we've found either through coping through disaster or that in COVID living scenario is when you run a business, it's really critically important to scenario plan. Take that time out of your business to do a range of scenarios once you've mapped out who your ecosystem is, because what the pandemic's shown us is the vulnerability that we have as a business by not being prepared and being resilient to these ongoing disruptions. So we haven't fully understood the impact of our critical infrastructure, like supply chains, like our customers and the way they interface with us. Scenario plan what might happen if pieces of your ecosystem have been disrupted, because that will then enable you to start to come up with solutions. The second action that I would recommend to business is to communicate with your staff. Communicate where you're at, what's happening, because sometimes your staff might have the solutions to some of the problems that you're enduring. And the third thing that I just wanted to mention is be authentic as a business. It affects your brand. Communicate with your customers, listen to their needs, try and adjust your product development, your commercialisation to the way that your customers are also transitioning through this disruptive period. That's really important, and it helps to build that authentic brand that will sustain you through an ongoing disruptive environment that we are unfortunately going to be living in for the next few years.
Absolutely. No, thank you again for that insight. And again, the risk management keeps sticking out to me. I ask those questions: what can damage your business? What are the risks to your business? And some of this information I'll start to seek out. So in New South Wales, there is a fantastic service off the back of Service New South Wales, the Business Concierge service, which is very, very powerful support network. Make a booking, spend some time, and they can help you in all sorts of matters of what's available through government. So, but absolutely some fantastic bits of advice there. Let's wrap this up in one word then. All of this stuff we've just talked about, all these actions, all these potential outcomes. What would be your one word, Paula?
Adaptability.
Like it. Claire?
Purpose.
Purpose. Andrew?
Governance.
Can you just say that again?
Governance.
Yeah. Just need to get your accent clear, mate.
Yeah, no worries, mate. You're right.
Once again, fantastic panellists, fantastic insight. Thank you very much for your contributions. I'm sure our live audience and our viewers that will watch on YouTube will get a lot out of this. We're on YouTube. Once again, like our videos. Get onto the Stronger Than My Excuses YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that reminder bell, and you'll get more fabulous content from the Stronger Than My Excuses channel. Thank you again to our guest, Paula Martin, the Regional Director of Business New South Wales Central Coast, Claire Braund, the Founder and Executive Director of Women on Boards, plus a few other titles, and Andrew Powrie, Business Economic Development Manager at Central Coast Council. And once again, I'm Brendan Rogers, your host, founder of the Culture of Things Leadership and Team Performance Consultancy podcast and YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching another episode of Stronger Than My Excuses show. We'll see you next time.